We're here in Gneeveguilla. This is my home patch where I come from, I suppose. So a few more of them coming down, but sure, so be it. So Denis Murphy Lachine, 7th of April, 74. His wife lived to be quite an elderly lady, 90 years of age. She only passed away, as you can see from the headstone there, in 2004. So just look, I suppose, Denis was born, he was born in November 1910. So he was actually only 63 years of age when he passed away. So he was anytime Denis was mentioned around here, it was always in the context of what a terrible loss he was, because we didn't get the best of him. He could have been retired. We could all have learned music from him, played with him, but that's not the way it happened, because he died far too young. He married in 1963. He married Julia Mary Sheehan from Turin Cahill. We'll be passing her house later on after we stop off in the pub in Gneeveguilla here. In 1949, he immigrated to New York. And he worked in the Botanic Gardens there. He had, I think, apparently by all accounts, he had a nice number, and he could concentrate on the music then when his day's work was done. But he never did any heavy, I suppose, lifting, is what was always said. In 51, he returned to Lachine, 1951, and he built his bungalow there. And we'll pass that later on up at Lachine, a place that I know was frequented by many of you. Peter, I know you stayed there, and other people as well. In the mid-50s, though, he returned to New York. There wasn't a lot happening around here, so having built a house, he went back again to New York. And he only returned, actually, in 1964. So he only spent 10 years around here then, in terms of, he passed away early in April 74. So there was really only 10 years of him when he came back. And during that time, I suppose, that was the critical time that people realised his genius and recorded him. So I know Seamus Ennis was mentioned earlier as I roved out. That was really important that they captured Denis. I think there was a recording in Cooley as well, some of you might have heard about, and that was important. That was Sean O'Reilly came from Limerick as well and settled in Cooley in the early 60s. So that was another important link, because I think he did a lot of the arranging for Denis in terms of tunes, and was helpful, I think, when he was doing the Star Above the Garter as well. So we were lucky the Star Above the Garter happened in 69, if you think about it, because he died just only probably 4.5 years later, not even full 5. And had that not happened, that iconic album might never have happened, right? With his sister Julia, and we don't need to rehash that one. As we said, we've played that one a number of times already. In fact, that was the only album, there was ever 2 albums bought of the one thing in our house. Our house was just there, the other side of the trees, on the road down there to Rathmore, at the cross, our house just on the right. So most albums were bought once, but at the Start Above the Garter there was 2 of them, because one of them got scratched, and it was so important and was so special around here. He was the local hero, I suppose, around here, for want of another name, you know. But Star Above the Garter was important. I mentioned in 1994, 20 years after his death, that Peter released that album over in Knocknagree as well, which was hugely important. And I know Kieran McMahon as well, Porrix here, was hugely significant as well in acknowledging his genius, and acknowledging his recording and playing with him, you know. He was a very modest kind of guy. He was a big, jovial man. My sisters, I don't remember him coming into our house. We said he was very friendly with my father, who played the accordion as well. He was just about 2 rows up. And he said he used to fill up the entire door frame coming into the house. He was delighted the house get darker when Denis arrived. And he was a lovely man. I have no recollection whatsoever of meeting him, but he obviously met me, I suppose, in the pram or something, because I was 6 years of age when he died. But I remember the day clearly, that he was being buried here for one reason. Our house ahead was just there, and I was kicking a football or something in the front of the house, when suddenly I heard this fabulous music coming from over the fence. And they had obviously brought Denis down. Cor Cooley, I think, put in a tremendous performance. I've often heard in terms of the mass that was celebrated for Denis. And he brought down here, and they played for a good, I'd say, half an hour. There was tremendous music. Some of you here might have been there. Most of you are too young to have been. But I know Joe Burke and all those characters were here. And the music seemed to go on for ages. And I remember standing, just rooted to the spot, listening to the music, thrilled, and being so disappointed when it finished. But maybe I didn't know it at the time. It was probably hugely significant for me in terms of playing music. But I remember the upset around the house and the whole thing, that someone really important was dead, and that was the good man here. He was a very modest guy as well, and just, I suppose, to say that in the years after, and I started playing music then and stuff, and there was meetings, and money was gathered to build a monument to Denis Murphy in Gneeveguilla. And it never happened, and it never happened for one reason. They approached Julia Mary and said, you know, we want to put up a monument to Denis. And at the time, they were building a big community centre up near the football pitch, which we're going up to now shortly, right? And Julia Mary said, no, I don't think Denis would want any monument to him. There's money is scarce, put the money into the hall and give it to the hall instead. So what we did convince her was, I was too young, but others like Christy Cronin, I think there was there, Tim Delis and others around here, that they would name the hall after Denis Murphy. And she said that was fair enough, right? So when we go up to the hall, when you get off the bus, there's a plaque saying this hall is dedicated to the memory of Dennis Murphy for his contribution to traditional music. I remember the wording of it being at the meeting where they were deciding, changing the words and what sounded better and all the rest of it. And that was probably late 70s when that actually happened, early 80s possibly even, because I was, as I said, I was 6 when this event happened. So big loss to us around here, musically, hugely. So look, we're very lucky to have actual relations here, Colleen and Maureen here, who are actually relatives of Dennis. So I'm going to invite them to come forward now and to lead us in a set of polkas. And then after that, we're going to have a set of jigs, okay? So if I can invite Maureen from Washington State. Bill the Waiver would have been your great-grandfather, right? Correct. And the Waivers, the name, just to say it, I suppose, while the ladies are getting ready. The Waivers, I think Bill was a linen weaver. And so they were called around here, weaver, it was called the Waivers. That's where it came from. And it was to distinguish them from the other Murphys. Because when you go up to Lachine, they're all lots of Murphys. The Moynihans here all had nicknames as well. Teddy Freeze, Paddy Mix, everyone up to Mikey Petros, Moynihans. Everyone had a nickname here because you had to distinguish who was who. So these Murphys were distinguishable as known as the Waivers. So Dennis the Waiver and Bill the Waiver, which is the blood relation of what we're going to hear now. So I think get your fiddles out. We're going to play them. We're playing them slow, just to say that, to give you, don't take off in a mad rush, anybody. And we'll invite Colleen and Maureen, please. about to wrap up, lads. Loads of good musicians buried here. I just feel I have to mention Sonny Reardon, Jonas there. Your dad was a lovely fiddle player and a lovely man. Right next door to the Cronins in Roby, living in Turincahill. Johnny Leary's grave is just down there. There's Paulo Soprani on it. If you want to do a quick run, but not trying to get you just to delay the thing. A lot of other musicians here as well. Mick McDinney, Sonny Reardon, Dan Cronin. We'll get into trouble again, but there's I'd say at every row you get something that could play some few bars from the very good to the. So thanks all for your attention, lads. We'll just escape the rain, and there's a nice clubhouse up here, and a bit of food up there as well, and stuff. So thanks for being with us.
Before we finish, very special day. I want to thank Con and I want to thank Nickie for their contributions. It was like on a fresher course. I don't know, I'd say there wasn't too many in the bus, bar Nickie and Anne, that would know every place that we went. They know those roads inside out. And fierce historic day, and a pleasure to be in this company, and a pleasure to pay tribute to these people. So the day is nearly over. So thanks very much. On the bus.